Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video review. This time I'm going to be talking about a newly shown Transformers Hasbro Studio Series figure, and this time it is Devastator. I'm really pleased to be able to say that, I must admit. This is a figure that was definitely on my top 5 most anticipated kind of wish list dream figures for them to make from the Studio Series, but it was certainly not one that I expected. And to be able to see it is really fantastic. Like, literally out of all of the movie Transformers figures, I would least expect this one to be made in the Studio Series, and yet here we are. So this is quite exciting, and yeah, I couldn't be any happier about it. So now I am not 100% sure how many, like, it does seem like the Constructicon figures that were shown from the Studio Series are going to be triple changers and will be, needed to complete this Devastator figure, I believe, but I'm unsure if the whole rest of the figure is also going to be utilizing triple changers that also transform into their own robots themselves, or if, like, you'll just have to buy like a portion of Devastator and then you'll have to buy those other figures. I'm unsure of how this figure is going to be put together. It's a little unclear. Just by looking at it, I would have said that the whole thing would just be sold by itself, but when you look at the image at the bottom left there that was shown at the panel, you have like kind of an artist rendering version of him essentially, but it does seem to state that those 3 figures are needed, or are those actual pieces there. So I'm very confused, to be quite honest, but I'm not 100% sure how this figure is going to be put together, if it's going to be sold by itself, if it'll be sold, a portion of it will be sold by itself and then the rest will be separate figures, or if the entire thing is other figures. It's hard for me to tell. But the 3 Constructicon figures that were shown were Lawn Haul, Scrap Metal, and Rampage. I've made a separate video talking about them specifically, so feel free to check that out, because I won't go into detail on them here. But going over the actual Devastator figure that we kind of have that somewhat artist rendering, somewhat actual picture of the figure with color at the bottom left. It's a little hard to see, but one interesting note as far as the color is concerned is that the left leg is red. Rampage, the figure is red. The character in the movie is red, except, if I'm not mistaken, the one that attaches to Devastator is yellow, and that's why the figure was yellow originally. I believe that he should have a yellow left leg, but instead he does have a red one because the character himself is red in the movie. It's lazy stuff, from Michael Bay films, because Rampage, of course, is attached to Devastator, and he's also on the battlefield as a separate entity at the same time in that movie, and the one that's just on the battlefield is red, and the one that's on Devastator is yellow. So it does look like apparently they're sticking with the red version for this Devastator, which is interesting. That's something that's different from the last Devastator figure, and I believe it's not accurate to the film, but that is interesting that they are doing that. Talking about the figure itself, though, especially the detail on him, I think that he does look fantastic. It looks a lot more accurate, particularly with the fingers. That's one thing that I really like, and something that I had an issue with the original Devastator figure is that the fingers were just very scoop-like, and that they were they weren't quite accurate, especially when it comes to the right hand, because he just had 3 scoops and there was just 2 on the top, 1 at the bottom. This one is more like a claw formation of scoops, and there's 4 of them, which is much more accurate to the film. I definitely like that quite a bit. The left side looks like he has more individually articulated fingers, which I think looks super cool. His legs look a little bit bulkier. The other version had very teeny tiny legs, which looked good, but it made him a little unstable. This one, they're bulkier. They look like they can support a little bit more. He's hunched over a bit more, and his head is more, it protrudes out of the body more than the last one did. The last one was more set inside the body, to some extent. So I think that this does look a lot more accurate. The face is obviously a lot more accurate too. And then one thing that you really can't tell, because it's an unpainted prototype here, but I would imagine that he'll have the red markings on his face that he has in the movie, that the figure itself didn't have. Personally, just so you know where I stand on the last Devastator figure, I love that figure. It was a figure that I really like. Spending $100 for a figure at the time was like really just kind of mind-blowing to me. Nowadays with Hot Toys and stuff, it seems like not much, but back then it was really a big deal for me to get that figure, and I really enjoyed it. And it's probably one of my favorite figures just because of my memories of how it made me felt when I got it. So I really do love that figure, and I love transforming it and all the pieces. I thought it was so cool. So getting a new version is just really exciting, I must say. But I will say that the head sculpt on this one, like the head and the neck, all looks like one piece. It doesn't look like it's individually articulated, which is a shame. I would have liked some motion there, but overall it looks like it's on a nice ball joint, which allows him to look to the side, which is good. But again, I'm unsure of how this is all going to be formed. I really just don't know. If there is more information, I'd love for you guys to share it. If there is any more information on how this figure is going to be sold, essentially. But overall, I'm very excited for it. I think that it does look excellent. Articulation is the other my other big question on the figure, is how well it will be articulated. It's an extremely awkward design, and the pieces are really weird, and if these are triple changers, they're going to have to fill a bunch of other functions too, not just having to be Devastator, but they'll also have to transform into their own characters, so it'll be very hard to articulate this thing well. I could definitely see this being more of a statue. The fingers look really well articulated, especially on the left hand. They look like they actually spread out and have nice articulation, but it's so hard to tell otherwise, because I don't really see any elbow articulation, but there obviously has to be some in there. The shoulders definitely articulate, and the head articulates at least at the base, so I'll be interested to see how this final product turns out. As far as release date, it's definitely going to be sometime in 2019. This is an unpainted prototype, so unfortunately it won't be out anytime soon. I do hope that it's out though before summer. This would be a nice spring release, yeah, I would absolutely love this, I must say. So overall, I'm incredibly excited for this. I absolutely plan to pick this guy up, and if he is formed out of several triple changers, I plan to pick up duplicates of them so that I can have their actual figures as well, because they look wonderful, as you can see here. Just the three that have been shown so far, they do look fantastic. So overall, I'm incredibly excited for this Devastator figure. I'm really just blown away that it's actually happening, and cannot wait to get it in person and in my hands. I'll also be interested to see the scale of it. You can kind of see it compared to some people's hands, but I'd like to see it compared to the last Devastator figure, and you know, how big it is like compared to a normal Voyager or Leader class figure, because it doesn't look like it's much bigger than the last Devastator figure, and I'm okay with that. We're never going to get a Devastator that's to scale, because it would just be massive. It would be kind of like the size of a person, so I don't expect one to scale at all, but it would be cool if it was a little bigger than the last one, but it doesn't need to be, because the last one was really big anyway. But I do like the updated design to make it more movie accurate. So yeah, so overall, let me know what you guys think of this new Studio Series Devastator figure. Let me know what you guys think of it, and thanks so much for watching.